Everybody start school this week already?
Start Monday.
Okay, Monday. Some people started.
I started on Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Blake, did you say you started?
Yeah, I started on Tuesday as well.
And then Trent, you started?
Monday.
Monday. And Giselle, you're on Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. For the people that started already, how's the first week of school?
We're on Zoom calls for 6 hours a day.
Yeah,
What's
it's pretty bad.
too bad?
It's interesting. I only have 5 minutes in between each class, so it's kind of nonstop.
Got it.
I have 10.
You got what?
I've got like 10 minutes between each class. It's kind of like normal periods, but just on Zoom.
Oh, got it. Hey, isn't that great? Because there's no commute now. You don't get to walk from class to class.
Yeah, but
That walk from class to class was kind of like your mental break. It was like you can just do nothing.
you can do nothing in between still.
Yeah.
I just
But it's 10 minutes less, so like it's less nothing.
God, I'm going to add a new topic.
It's the art of laziness.
Most of my teachers understand that being on Zoom for 6 hours isn't very fun. So they kind of let us off early, which is nice. But not all of them do. And that's not fun.
Yeah. Do you have to keep your cameras on all the time, or
Not for every teacher.
every single teacher requires it for my school?
Some of my teachers know that some people don't like to be on video all the time.
Oh, we get that here too.
Yeah.
Awesome. You guys are giving me like more than what I wanted, what I had planned for this evening. So thank you for giving me
Great.
some. Awesome. So I'm glad that some of you guys have started school. You guys are definitely, if you picture it, you guys are the forefront of a new style of education that is hitting all around the world. And it's not like online learning is new because it's been going on. But now everybody, well, I don't want to say everybody, but majority of the people and schools and universities are doing online. Some places you might hear have some in person, but for the most part, the social environment is not the same where it was, right? And you guys can look at it in two ways. You can look at it as in a way that you can look at it in a way where it's different. There's a lot of change. It stinks. Or you can look at it in a way where you say, holy smokes, we are pioneering and the test subjects for a new way of learning because it'll probably never be the same again. Even when we go back and you get to go back to classes, the stuff that everybody's going to discover with distance learning, online learning, whatever you might want to call it, is going to change the world forever. Let me give you an example. Anybody knew what was the route of transportation before cars?
Walking?
Walking, yes. What else? Animals?
Horses.
Horses.
Animals, I mean, anything other than cars.
You had bicycles.
Bicycles, yeah. And people love riding bikes, probably love walking, love riding animals or being pulled on carriages. But what do you think happened when car manufacturers started coming? I don't even know what the first car was. Maybe it was Ford.
It was Ford.
What's that?
It was Ford.
Ford. So what do you think happened the first year they wanted to introduce a car? I really don't know what happened, but I can imagine what happened. Do you think there was a lot of like, oh my gosh, who do these people think they are? They're trying to change everything. We're happy walking. We're happy riding a bike. We're happy with our animals and being pulled on a carriage. And why would they want to change and take all of this stuff away from us? Was there probably some businesses that may have gotten hurt that maybe supplied bikes, that supplied carriages? Probably, but if you look at the ones that shifted, they drastically improved. If you think of anybody that you may know and or associate with somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that, if they thought it was an exciting time now to know that they're around when they went from carriages to motorized vehicles, what do you think they'd say now?
They'd be pretty surprised.
Yes, but at the time, would you see a little bit of negative feelings, drawback?
Yeah, yeah. There would be some.
Trying to take over the world. The world doesn't work like this. And can you guys see a world without cars? You could see a world without cars, Blake?
I could.
What would you see as transportation?
Just going back to walking and bikes.
And so if you wanted to go from where you are today across the country, how would you do that?
With a plane.
A boat.
Which brings my next point, right? The introduction of planes. Do you think there was a lot of, like, what do they think they're doing? There's no way. This is not normal.
Maybe.
Why? People are going to die.
Yeah.
Look at it now. Can you see a world without an airplane? No.
No.
And how do you think the stories will go of the people that went from, I was there when they first flew the first airplane, when I saw that thing crash after it went like 100 feet or whatever that those people had gone, that first thing that flew and maybe went like 100 feet or 200 feet, whatever it might have been. It may have been a disaster, but now it's like, holy smokes, I was there to see the first thing fly in the air other than a bird. The story radically changes and all this excitement. My point is, I'm going to go from no cards there. Language determines your behavior. Your language, what you say, how you say it determines everything. If you go into school saying, this is brand new, I hate online learning. Well, hate's a strong word, but I've heard that before. But like, I dislike online learning. It feels rushed, and you have all of this story behind it. Consider how you're gonna feel if you went into class thinking that, versus if you enter class like, oh my gosh, this is amazing technology. Like, we get to be online. I've never been home before. Like, man, if I gotta go use the bathroom, I'll just go and turn my camera off for a minute and leave a note. Be right back. How easy was that, instead of like, do I gotta raise my hand and go tell everybody and like try and see when's the right time? No, you go like, click the camera off, write a note, be right back. Right? Or maybe something comes up and you just disappear for a minute because something that you couldn't do in class. Look at the possibilities. Or maybe your teacher's explaining a subject and now you have the opportunity to pull out your phone or another, like on your computer, another screen, and start to do some searching and some research on the thing that they're talking about so you can participate and learn a little bit faster. Would that be a more exciting way to look at it, where we look at it through a different lens and all of a sudden something we really don't like becomes so powerful, but it's just new? How do we leverage things that's new? Right, that's new for everybody. Some of you have been joining us on these calls even since like last September, right before Zoom blew up, right? And so just from coming on those and doing some of our calls on here, does that give you a little bit more comfort going into some of the classes? Because you kind of are expected and you have an expectation of what to see. How many people that were doing virtual things when people were in the society, where a lot of like the society just didn't see it fit, and they started years ago, right? They're the ones now pioneering and like teaching everybody how to make this thing work. What are strategies, right? They are like the leaders in the industry. Like you look at schools now and the academics, they are looking for people who's been using this technology like for years and years and have been teaching on this stuff, because people have been doing it. It's not brand new. It's just new to be the normal of what's going on now, right? So like if you think you guys are the pioneers, you guys are the one that's starting all of this, you know, even have some students and some friends that I've known over the years are going to college this year, and like they're kind of bummed out because they thought their college experience is not what they expected, right? Is it really what you expected, right? When we're going into high school for this first time, those of you already in high school, is it really what you expected? You know, as you go into college, as you do other things, we have this expectation, but does it actually realistically fulfill the thing that you really think it's going to be? It rarely does, right? So understanding that totally shifts your world to say, how do I make this as beneficial as possible? You start asking yourself different questions, and like you start moving forward. You take what's given to you, and I mean, it sounds so like cliche, but you take what's given to you and you just make the best and you make the most of what comes your way, right? And it's no different when we start playing golf. How many times, like again, right? Language determines your behavior. What do you think happens when you show up to a golf course for after, if you ever not played for like, if you play golf constantly now, or especially coming off summer, and if you've ever been to the course and gonna go and play and you're hurt and you tell yourself, man, I haven't played for a week. And you have like, oh man, it's been a week since I hit golf balls. It's been a week since I played golf. Take that back. What if we said, oh man, it's been 3 weeks or it's been a month. It's been so long since I played golf. Right? And now you enter a world of, holy smokes, 1 week, 1 month feels like an eternity. You might even hear teammates and friends say, man, I haven't hit balls for 3 days. And you're like, what? 3 days and this? But sometimes it's the language that we use. We've all said that. Like we've come in and we said, man, I haven't hit balls in like 4 days or 3 days. That's why I feel so off. Is it really why if we feel so off? Can 3 days or 1 week make that big of a difference? Possibly. Is it the reality? You know, probably not. Right? Start to challenge our beliefs. So if we go in just with that, right? It's not even negative. It's like, oh man, it's been 3 days. It's been a week. It's been a month. I'm coming off an injury. Everything that you can think of, somebody has returned in the past better than where they left off. And that's all you have to know. It's not everybody, but some people have. Some people have returned from injuries playing better than when they left off. Some people have come back to like academics with brain injuries smarter than before the brain injury, right? It's because of things that they do and they train, knowing like what to do. And so if you entered the world of every time you step on that golf course, every time you open up that Zoom classroom, and you enter with the highest possibilities that you could say, like, man, what is the possibilities today and how much can this change my life just in this 1 hour of classes or in this session at the golf course? Like, what is possible? And then you start like thinking about it, and then you start making it real. Because if you think about and put yourself in that place, you are a totally different person showing up if you thought and saw all the possibilities than if you didn't. And if you said, it's been a week, it's been a month, the last few rounds haven't been very good, or it's been horrible, and you really haven't defined what's going on, and you're just giving this emotion walking in, guaranteed you get in there, it's going to take you a while to kind of find yourself. You're going to be waiting for the time, when do I hit my next good shot so I can remember what it feels like. And so create language that fits the behavior that you want to happen, right? And the behavior and actions that you take 100% shapes the direction and where you're going to end up. So if your behavior shapes where you end up and where you go, and your language shapes your behavior, then you better start with some really, really, not necessarily positive, right? Positive is not always the right word, but uplifting, positive, encouraging, possibilities, whatever you would call those things, that kind of language is where you want to live. And I promise you, start doing that, changes the entire game for you guys. In the beginning, if you're not like that, it's going to be uncomfortable, but guess what? Things that are uncomfortable soon becomes comfortable, right? If you've ever said, I've never played for a week, oh my gosh, what happens? Go talk to the people that are in Canada. They shut down for 6 months out of the year and all the golf courses are closed. Some people fly down south where they can play golf and other people don't, right? In Canada and even in some of the cold states here on the East Coast and the Northeast side where they have tons of snow, they shut down for 4, 5, 6, 7 months sometimes out of the year. No golf, but yet they still play really good golf. Some of them have the opportunity to just travel down south where they can play, right? But just because you can't get there doesn't mean you can't play good golf when you return. And that happens over and over and over. So when we say I haven't played in a week, haven't played in 3 days, haven't played in a month, just know people out there return better and they haven't played for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months sometimes. And so language determines your behavior, and your behavior is everything. Going into, if you don't yet already know, you need to identify your top 3. What are the top 3 things that you want in your golf game, right? So we may call it goals, we may call it objectives, but think of them like projects. Whatever your top 3 things are, need to be pretty big things. And so it could be a scoring goal, it could be a performance, some kind of performance goal, right? But you need to know something that you can measure that you're getting closer to, and you need to be looking at your top 3. And when we start looking at and determining your top 3, it is something that you're looking at every single day, right? We don't just write down something one time and get reminded of it. It's, you got to remind yourself every single day. So something like your top 3, whatever you determine that is, it's not a single task that you're going to do. It's going to be like something that you accomplish, like a project, right? So start thinking in your golf game, like what is it that you really want to accomplish in your golf game? Everybody's going to be different. Some people are going to want to shoot a certain score. Some people are going to want to make it on a certain team. Some people, it might be even kind of far out there, but determine what your top 3 things are. It might be, hitting a certain distance, striking a certain way. But determine like what is that, the top 3 things, right? And you need to be viewing that every single day. And if you notice, like, think about, if you don't yet have a top 3, think about where you're at now. When you show up, does your priorities change from week to week? I want to go here this week. I want to hit it better this week. Or next week, oh no, I want to do this. And what that might sound like is, I want to hit it solid this week. Oh no, my putting was off. So I'm going to work on putting next week. Oh no, my chipping was off. So let's work on chipping this week. Oh, I hit it a little thin this week. Let's work on some ball striking this week. Oh, shot high this week. Let's work on scoring. And if you're jumping all over the place like that, then you're not in alignment with your top 3. right? So your top 3 might be something like, when I get to 100 yards and in, my score needs to be 3 and less. 3 and less from 100 yards. I'm just giving you examples, right? Doesn't mean you guys are going to take these. One of your top 3s would be, I'm going to be a 70 shooter, 79 or less every time I play 18 holes, right? A top 3 is going to be, I'm going to be number 1 on my high school team. I'm going to be number 2 on my high school team. Anybody just want to shoot for number 2? You guys like, I want to be number 2. Or you're like, I want to be number like 4. So I challenge you to think about, like, when you say high school, where do you want to be on your high school team? Anybody ever just say, I want to be last? Because I saw that reaction, Adriana. So if you've ever had you told somebody, go, I want to make it on the high school team. That's like you saying, yep, I want to be last. Because making a high school team could mean you're last, right? So be specific on where you want to end up. I want to be here. What is like a top 3 priority for you in your golf game? Maybe you just want to, like, a top 3. Like a top 3 for me is that I golf every week with Charlotte. That is a non-negotiable for me. And that is on the forefront every single time. Do I get it every week? There's a couple weeks that I miss. But for the most part, I'm scheduling that because I see it every single day, that no matter what, Tuesday afternoons is my day that I take her out golfing, that we go play 9 holes. Play at 5 to 5:30, sometimes 6 o'clock. But at the end of the day, when no one's out, right? That's a top 3 where I can go out there, and Seiko, if she wants to join, she comes and joins. So she joins us maybe like a little more than half of the time she'll come and join. But for me, that's one of my top 3s that happens every single week, other than certain occasions that I can't make it happen. But again, how often do I think about that? I'm thinking about that every single day. That's in my journal that I write every morning. That's part of, right, my daily journaling, that I make sure that happens, right? So things that you want to happen, you need to see as frequent as possible. And so maybe it's not performance for you guys. Maybe it's a frequency. It's something that you really want. What is it? So you can start to design that thing. The reason why we're going to keep it at 3 is because if you have anything more than 3, you don't have the time and the resources to do it all. And so at any given time, it's only practical and effective to be looking at 3 things at most, right? 3 things is still a little bit full, but studies have shown that you can look and focus on 3 big projects at one time. You're not going to be doing them all at one time, but then you start to prioritize, like, what really matters. Because the 3 things doesn't mean you're going to do it all today. The 3 things means 1, 2, and 3 are going to be done in the very shortest amount of time. That's going to be done in the next 90 days. That'll be done in the next 120 days. That'll be done in the next year, right? So a lot of times, big 3s may take 6 to 9 months to a year to get done. It depends how, like, big those things are, right? And each one of those things can be, it's not just one little task. It's like, you know, for me, my big 3 is golfing with Charlotte every week. It's not just making the schedule and say I'm going to do it. That's like a ton of tasks that I have to be thinking about all the time. For example, I want to golf with her and make sure it's my top 3. It's, I got to make the tee time at the time that I want to do it. I have to make sure our schedule at home is clear, that nothing gets put in that spot. I have to make sure I'm communicating with Seiko all the time to make sure, like, letting her know, Tuesday, golf, this time. I got to make sure that I don't have meetings. I don't book any, golf lessons or coaching calls or anything like that in that window. I got to make sure that, I constantly make sure that my calendar is free, that nothing gets booked in there and nothing gets put in our family calendar. Right. And so it's, if I don't see it every day, then there's a good chance that something gets put in there. Right. If if you ever get calls from friends, family, and they're in town, or you like something special is coming up, hey, can you do something at Tuesday at, Tuesday evening at 6? I'm going to be like, no, I can't. That is when I'm golfing with my daughter. I'm going to be golfing, right? But days that I don't see it, things fall in there and then golf doesn't happen. So as simple as something that sounds like that, I have to be seeing it all the time to make sure things don't get put in there. Right? Even Seiko, she has plans and she books things with friends of ours and families of ours. And if I don't communicate with her, it's not just one time. If I'm not constantly communicating with her that Tuesdays at 5:30 is my golf day with Charlotte, then she puts stuff in there. Right? So there's days that she books stuff in there and I say, unfortunately, I cannot go. I just don't want to go, right? Because I have other commitments that I want to make. And so think about your top 3. What is it that you want? They got to be like, again, as simple as like the golf with Charlotte is, there's a lot of things that have to align for that to happen for me at this part of my life right now. So think about their projects, not tasks, right? So it's not like I'm going to go practice is my top 3. It's your top 3 is to get a performance target, right? To shoot a score, to hit, to, create something that you want. And then it's the practice. How many days of practice? It's how many times you're seeing your coach, your instructor. How many times are you posting videos to get it looked at, reflecting on your rounds? All of that stuff are needed to accomplish those goals and over the course of time. So make sure you start writing down your top 3, and it's something that you are going to post on your walls, post and see all the time. Put it on your phone, whatever you see, to remind yourself every day. And if you see it every day, I promise things will change. Right? If you notice, like, we took some of the stuff down, but like this is like we have white paper all over like our offices, if you guys can see that, with certain things, right? We're always writing things because we don't want to forget. And we need to see, like, every time I step in this room, I need to be like, you see that one? Who am I? That's like identity stuff. Like stuff I tell you guys, like I don't make it up, right? We write these things down so we see it and remind ourselves. These are like, who am I? That's identity things, right? We can't just think I'm this person. We have to actually say it. I have to, every time I enter this room, it's like some identity things, right? So, right. So like that one would be some of Seiko's ones, but there are things that remind us, all the time, because just you knowing what it might be is definitely not enough, right? Because how many times do we get and say, I remember hearing that before, now I'll do it. And then you don't do it. And then another week goes by or a month goes by. It's like, I remember. Yeah, that's right. Let me do it now. Right. And it just never happens. And it's just because we don't see it enough. Right. So I do want to take a little minute off here, and I want to just kind of go over with everybody. Like, tell me what you heard. So every small segment we go over, I want to get your guys' feedback. Tell me what you're hearing. And start with Giselle.
Okay, what you want me to do? What would you want me to say? Sorry,
Oh.
I couldn't. Sorry.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Oh. Hi, Giselle.
Hi.
I have it frozen here on my side. All right, so just that little segment we're going over, like, what do you hear on your end?
I heard about reflecting on your rounds. That sounded, and expectations versus reality. That's what I wrote down.
Okay, cool. How would you find that beneficial to your golf?
Well, like, do you mean like my top 3? Because I already wrote those down.
If you'd like to share your top 3, that'd be great. But
okay. Make it on varsity, high school golf team. Shoot at least 80 or under, and then go to a D1 school.
Awesome. So I'll help you a little bit with that one. So just so you guys are clear too with top 3, right? Make it on varsity golf team. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
A great goal. And that's a good top 3 because that's coming in the short term, right? That's coming in 6 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
And so how you would make that a little bit different is consider not just going on varsity, right? Where do you want to end up on varsity?
I'm not really sure.
Okay. So think about that for a moment too, right? And just think what person would you want to be in varsity? And here's the difference, right? You can be on the varsity team, and let's just say 9 players are on varsity team. Depending where you're at, the number of starting players is between 5 players and 7 players. If you are number 9 but on the varsity team, that means you're not playing.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So you getting on the varsity team, if you just want to be on the varsity team, that's amazing. If you're wanting to be on the varsity team and you want to start and play, right, that's something a little bit more specific. So beyond, that's kind of like where we talking about, like, do you want to just be the worst player on the team kind of thing, right? When we make it that broad, there are people that definitely can play on the varsity team and be there, and that's all they want. But if you want to be able to compete and play, then you got to start looking into what is it, like, where do you want to end up on that varsity team, right? And so part of it is just, if you like, there's a starting team that plays every single week and everybody's fighting for that starting team, depending on where what school it is. It's between 5 players and 7 players that start every single event. So you're going to ask yourself, like, do I want to play or do I want to be on the team? And if I play, like, that would be one of your top 3s. You want to shoot 80. That would be a great top 3. And then you want to play at a D1. That's going to be outside the realm of the top 3. That's going to be more long-term vision. And so when you determine this for everyone, when you're looking at top 3, it's something in the relevant future, like within the year, that you are going to create.
Okay.
Right. So break down, for you to be a Division I golfer, think about what would need to be done this year, and that would be your top 3. Does that help?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
No problem.
Hey, Blake, are you there?
Yeah.
All right. Tell us, what are you hearing here?
I was hearing about top 3 and like writing it down so you remember it and don't have to save it for later until you inevitably forget about it.
Okay. Awesome. How would you use that to benefit you?
The top 3, or like writing it down?
Either one.
It would be a good way to set goals, because I'm pretty bad at that. So if I set a specific top 3, it would probably be a good way to clear up what I need to do.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And I want to remind everybody, do you guys remember this? Language determines behavior. So when we come out and say, I'm pretty bad at that, what does that tell us our behavior is going to be towards setting goals? If we just came in and said, I haven't yet learned how to set goals effectively, now it gets us into a mode that I want to learn. When we say, I'm pretty bad at something, that's giving us a prejudgment already on how I'm going to accept information. Because when we say we're bad at something, we're already predetermining what might come out or how our view of good is going to be. So now when we start listening to things and on the strategy on how to set goals, if it doesn't match that predetermined, like, thought, even though you're not saying it directly, you're going to just dismiss it and say, that probably doesn't work for me. And you're going to wait for the one that does and not be open to all the possibilities. Share with you an example. One of my coaches, I told him that I tried meditating before and just, I don't know how, and like my body just doesn't like meditating because I get distracted. I do this, I do that. Like, man, it's just rough and it's hard. His response to me was, well, who told you what meditation was supposed to do? Like, he's like, what is meditation to you? And I'm like, it's where you calm your mind and you calm your thoughts and you kind of direct where your thoughts are going. And like, I purchased some audios and some subscriptions where they actually talk you through a meditation and like tell you what to be thinking. And he's like, oh, that's fantastic. And so everything that I was talking about was kind of what he would refer to as like a guided meditation, that something is guiding you through what to think. And so he's like, how long you been doing this? Like, well, everybody said like 15, 20 minutes. I was like, man, it's so hard to stay down 15, 20 minutes. And so he's like, can I share something with you? I'm like, of course. He heard me basically demolish meditation and how I tried all these different things. I must have tried like 6 different things in the course of a year and kind of I want to say committed, but I went and did things for a couple months, didn't like it, couple months, didn't like it. And he goes, what if meditation just meant you let your mind do what it wanted to do? And then he's like, I told him, you know what? I tried that before and guess what? I fell asleep. And then he starts laughing. He's like, you know what that means? That just means your body was tired. Got that, Blake? Didn't make that one up. So I learned that one. And that was a different shift in perspective, right? It's like the moment I understood, oh, let me just lie down, close my eyes, set a timer. And he said, why not just do it for 5 minutes? And I'm like, does 5 minutes do anything? And he's like, well, it's better than not. And so 5 minutes, close my eyes, focus on my breathing. Sometimes I fall asleep. I wake up and I'm with my alarm and I remind myself, well, that just meant I was tired. But here's the thing. I gave myself such a bad interpretation of meditation because I thought it wasn't for me. I didn't know how to do it. I was bad at it. The moment somebody cleared that up and said, well, why don't you just eliminate all the rules, let your mind just go, fall asleep if you have to, and then just start. And so now it's been 2 straight months, like 60 something straight days that I do it every morning for 5 minutes, and I have not missed. Oh, sorry, I missed 2 days that I didn't do it. So, but almost 60 something straight days. But what I've noticed after 60 something straight, not straight days, but almost 60 something straight days is the 2 days that I didn't do it, like I feel different that day. And I finally understand why, like what I was supposed to get out of this, even for 5-minute meditations, where my body's more calm. I leave the house not so anxious. Even when I'm running a little bit behind in the morning from what I want, I still do it because it makes me leave the house in a better place, which ends up being a more productive full day, even if I'm a few minutes behind. And so our language, again, determines our behavior. And if I stuck to the whole, I'm bad at it, I don't know what to do, it doesn't work for me, I tried everything, realistically, I didn't try anything because I didn't try one of my coaches and mentors' definition. He might have just made it up on the spot right there just to get me to do something. But the truth is I did it, and now I'm committed to doing it, and I do it every single day because now I feel the difference. Did I feel the difference after the first day or first week? I did not. But it's something that I could repeat and do, and now I can totally feel the difference after a couple months. So don't let your language talk you out or just discourage you guys from doing the things that would definitely change your guys' life. Brings us into this one right here. Anybody heard win, then play? You guys know what that is? Anybody heard that? Win, then play. We may have heard we play to win, but win, then play. That means, how can you win the game before you even start the game? And so how I want you to think about win, then play is, how many of, like, happens to everybody, but how many of you think that, man, I got to hit the ball perfectly before I can play well. I got to hit it perfectly straight. I got to work on this and make the ball fly a certain way. I got to master my putts. I have to hit perfect chips. I got to stop slicing the ball, and then I'll be ready to play and perform. Win then play means, what do you have to do to start winning before you even start the game? And there's a few different components to that, right? One of the components is going to be like the things that you can see, the technical stuff, right? The things that are 100% straightforward and measurable. It's finding what's the resources that I need, meaning what's the technique I need, who's the coaches I got to see, what's the frequency, what's the skills I need to learn, what is the time I have to put in, right? And you're listing everything that gets you to win the game, whatever your definition of winning, right? If your definition is I want to break 80, then you winning the game is breaking 80 for the first time, right? What is required, and identifying all of the necessary required actions and skills and tools to win the game. Excuse me. Second is, you have to be able to prioritize them, right? So you're going to have a lot of these things and requirements that you do, but you have to be able to prioritize and know what is my next step, right? We talked a little bit of this in goal setting and how to achieve goals, is we see so many things, but what we really need to be seeing is, like, sometimes when we have so many things and we're so far away, we're looking at the huge gap between where you are and where you want to get to, and you think we're going to get there overnight, or we're going to get there if I do everything right now. The realistic truth is it takes a while, right? So it's like, I want to get way out here, but how do I just get like right there and then right there? And you start prioritizing, what is the most important thing that I need to do today, right? What is the number one challenge that I got to get over today? What's the number one roadblock that's preventing me from moving forward? And you got to just get moving forward. And when that gap seems so big, it doesn't feel like we're moving anywhere. So you got to determine, what are the things that just get me moving, even if we're like crawling a little bit closer. Know that you're going forward, because once you start moving fast, then you can start running, right? So identify the things that are necessary to get there, prioritize them, and know what is the biggest needle mover that's going to get you the furthest. And sometimes the furthest and the biggest needle mover is that only gets you like this, but you got to know what's getting you closer, right? And the biggest one that not many of us really think about is, it's the mindset part of it. It's the thinking and the thought. It's the knowing that you can actually accomplish this before you even do it. And again, when we talk about language and our behaviors, like, even if we're not saying it out loud, thoughts that we have in our head is language that we're speaking to ourselves. So as we're speaking dialogue in our head, those are preventing us from doing the necessary things. If we just looked at, these are the required like behaviors or actions that I have to do, these are the required skills, this is the required tools, this is the required like coaches, this is the required amount of time, and you just wrote that down. And if you said, well, I just got to do this and I'll get there. Simple. But it's our thinking, and it's our mindset, and it's our psychology of how we're approaching each one that makes each little task or tool action so difficult to do. It's where we start to create stories that say like, man, it might not be for me. Oh, it's so hard. Let me change to something else. Oh man, it's taking me way longer than what I thought. Do I have the time? And then when you get in that place, then other distractions come in, right? The moment we already talked yourself out because you didn't win in advance and knew you could do it. Then the moment we want to get really good in golf, we know what to do. We know how much time to spend. We know how much time we have to play golf and how much rounds we have to play. And we talk ourselves out of it. The moment, friends say, hey, let's go shopping. Let's go to the beach. You're like, on it, let's go. This golf stuff can wait. Right? The moment you get a busy school day and you got to have tons of homework, and homework's more important anyways, as opposed to thinking like, man, how can I get my homework? If you could win first and then plan and knew you could do it in advance, you then would think, yeah, I got homework. I always have homework. How can I get homework done and get the things I need to get my golf game in order? The truth is, are there players out there that play at an extraordinarily high level and commit themselves to practicing crazy hours and yet sustain a 4.0 or over a 4.0 grade average for academics? Yes, there are. Are there people that have a crazy workload of sports and playing every single day, and then they're studying all the time, they're getting good grades, and you might say, well, they don't have life. They don't have a social life. Is there people that have all three? Yeah. There's people that get really good sports, really good at academics, and really good social life, really good at everything they want, right? So know that you can get it all in advance. Know that it does take a commitment, but know what it is. Know that it's possible. If you knew whatever you wanted was possible, and it was possible in the time frame that you could do it, then you would start moving, and you would start moving around, and you would start shuffling, and you would start like figuring out ways to just get the things that you really wanted. And so start to think about, you start to do different things when you know you can do it. All right, so let me share you a story about one of these kids, right? He is going to 9th grade now, and if you looked at him, and if you looked at his experience level, he'd still be considered a beginner because he doesn't really play on the golf course. He played a few times, but the few times that he played, it's more under like a fun scramble kind of format. But he set this big goal, right, in 12 weeks that he wanted to hit it like 190 yards or so. And for him, right, he knew he could do it. He knew he would put the time in, and he could get it, right? He's someone that's pretty straightforward, where he gets good grades, right? He does stuff with the family, but he doesn't really talk himself out of too much things, and he just kind of does it. And he was very clear that I really can't make it to go practice and go to the golf course to do it. No problem, right? But he was clear, and so think about like, how clear are you where it's not possible? Well, there's always a possibility, but for him, he knew it wasn't possible. But he's like, is there still a way? I'm like, of course there's a way. You just got to swing this thing at home. So he swings it at home, and he eventually hits past his mark in 7 weeks instead of 12. And he only hit driver for 2 out of 7 weeks, right? Other things were working on patterns, but he knew it was going to work, and he passed his 12-week mark in 7 weeks, right? So I'm sorry, 8 weeks, wasn't 7 weeks. So 8 weeks, he passed his 12-week mark for his driving distance, right? And so on week 8, right? So what made him get past his 12-week mark on week 7 is because he knew he could do it, and he really believed that what he was doing at home was going to work. It's not about the practice that you put in. You just have to know that it's going to work. And if it's not working, you change the approach. But you got to be 100% bought in that it's going to work. And so on week 8, we came in and we decided, all right, well, you passed your 12-week mark on week 8. Like, what would excite you to get in the last 3 weeks, right? From the last 3 weeks after that. And he's like, well, maybe let's do 200 yards. Maybe, can I get it to, I was like, dude, you just hit it 190 yards. In 3 weeks, guarantee you're going to do that. And guess what he said? He's like, oh, okay. What about 210? I'm like, man, you got 3 weeks. And so I had about a 10 to 15 minute conversation with him about, just so he understood, stretch yourself a little bit, because if you got there from, and just so you know, he came from hitting it at 135 yards on week 1 to hit it at 190. 191 is how far he hit it on week 7. Swinging the golf club at home, in his garage, not even hitting a golf ball. So on that session on week 8, we had a conversation, and it's just getting him to believe that he could do it, right? He's like, well, could I hit it 250 yards? And I'm like, I don't know, could you? What would you need to do to hit it 250 yards? He's like, well, first I would have to swing harder. I'm like, well, how hard are you swinging it? And he's like, well, not very hard. And so if you're not swinging it very hard and you just hit it 191 last week, what do you think you could get this week? You think you could get 250 at the end of 12 weeks? And he's like, yeah, of course I could. I was like, well, can you show me one that you just swing really hard? And so he must have hit, I'm going to show you power of belief and knowing that you can get it. All right, at this time, his swing speed, I think it was like 83 miles an hour that got him 190. And so I said, well, you're going to have to get your swing speed up to like the mid 90s, right? You got to get over like 12, 13 miles an hour swing speed in the next 3 weeks to get into that 250 category. So he hit about 20 balls, and we're monitoring his swing speed, and it's like 82, 83. And then I like swinging hard, he got like 86, 87. So that's going a little bit further. He passed the 200 mark. But what's crazy, he hit one shot that went 93 miles an hour. And after like 20 balls of like 82, 85, 87, he hit one ball that went like 93 miles an hour. He looked back and was like, oh my gosh, I can do it. And then every ball after that was 93, 93, 94. And in that session, he hit the ball 251 yards. So my point is, how do you win and then play the game? If you can't even convince yourself that you can do it, my question is, if he only thought he could hit it 180 yards, how long would he have been stuck at 180? Because he would have just been hitting at 180. The moment he saw that he could hit it, the speed that was really close, he actually repeated the thing. And all he needed to do is catch one really good. Did he miss a bunch? Yeah, he topped a ton, right? He sliced a bunch, but it took one that he connected at like 93.5 or 94 miles an hour that took him to 251 total yards, right? And so how do you go from 180 yards beating your 12-week benchmark or 12-week goal, and then from 180 goal in 1 week go to 250? It's not the skill that gets you there. Does it help? Yeah, the skill helps, but it's knowing that you can do it. If somebody just told you and you believe that you could swing it faster or you could hit it more solid based on what you can do if you believe them, then you would 100% be showing up in that session or at that practice differently. And so, yes, we need to get all the required things, right? He needed to know that you got to swing at 95 miles an hour to get close. And as he saw himself get close, then he did it more, right? He knew that he has to hit it solid and not slice the ball, right? So he knew that, right? So that's the easy part. The hardest part is you got to believe you can do it, and you got to really believe that you can do it, not just say, yeah, I'm going to get there, right? Because if you're going to win, then play, you got to win it first and really know that you could do it. And so think about how you guys all, right? And nobody's perfect, right? There's days that I show up in certain areas that I'm just kind of showing up. But for me to know it, I can switch, right? And so I want you guys to get there too. You're not going to have perfect days all the time. But I want you to recognize that how many days do you show up at practice, at golf, playing a tournament, whatever it might be, practicing at home, and you're just going through the motions and saying, I'm spending some time here and I'm going to hit some balls. I'm going to do it because I'm supposed to do it, and that'll get me there, because that will not get you there. Right? Or how many of you say, like, man, me practicing in my living room is actually 100%. I see how this is going to work and get me to the next level. All right. And so how you show up in the time that you spent makes the biggest difference in the world, right? And that's how you win, then play. You guys should all be winning before you play the game, and that is what accelerates your performance. So that was a little longer one right there. Tell me what you guys are hearing there. So I'll go to Adriana.
Okay. Well, I heard that you like the win then play, and that you need to do perspective or prioritize. That's what I wrote down. Prioritize things and make time for the things that you want to do, and not put them off and make them seem less important than other things.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. What part of that do you think you could implement immediately for you?
I think that sometimes I get a little bit overwhelmed with everything that's going on, and so I put off golf just because I'm like, okay, I can do that later. So I think I just need to include that in my important, not like important because I think it's important already, but like higher up on the list of things that need to get done.
Oh, that's fantastic. And how might you do that?
I don't know.
Yes. And so again, it comes into a belief too, right? If you just believe that you could have it all, that it's not one or the other, would that change like how you think and start to manage your time, right? Sometimes when we get overwhelmed, we think we have to sacrifice one thing to get another. There is give and take, but if you now consider, I don't want to sacrifice. What would I have to do both? It gives you a different answer. I don't know what your answer is going to be, but you coming in and saying, I'm overwhelmed with all these different things, whether it's social, school, or social, academic, sports, and you say, like, let's say you have all three, and like, man, I really am overwhelmed and I can't do it all. What do I have to give up right now and push it off till later, right? And you just saying, what do I have to, like, I can't handle it all. That's language already telling you internally that something's going to get chopped off. And when you look at academics, social, and sports, typically for most, sports is always on the bottom, unless sports is intertwined with your social. But if it's separate, as human beings, we're social people, right? We're going to pick social, academics, and family over everything else, and that's kind of normal. But if you ever consider, like, all right, I'm overwhelmed, what do I have to do to have all three and get what I want in all three? And it gives you a different way to answer those questions. right? It gets you to start to shuffle your time. It gets you to look at, are there things in academics that take me longer than it should? Right? Are there things in my social life that I really want that I could reschedule to a different time and still do the same kind of thing and hang out with the same kind of people? Right? It's just asking slightly different questions and being in that sense. But really good job, Adriana. Thanks for sharing.
Mhm.
Alexa, are you there? Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
He said that you have to like make time for like practice. Like if you want to do good, like practice and like make time for it. Not just can't like get any better by just sitting there.
Yeah. And definitely practice. Can't do anything, love it. And so for you, how would you use that advice for yourself? Like how would that be beneficial for you?
Um, it can help like with the stuff that I need that needs to be worked on, like by putting, just by swinging or like swinging the club. I guess could help a little bit, even on the carpet or swinging the club in the backyard on the grass.
Perfect. Yeah. And then just, connecting to making sure you know why you're doing what you're doing and then just go out and do it. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks for sharing. We're going to keep on coming, but I got a couple more things I want to get through because we're going to end on time tonight. Next is I want you to see that anybody, well, actually before I show you, anybody heard the phrase that your past equals your future? Anybody heard that? Your past equals your future?
I think so.
Okay. So some of you may or may not have it. Blake said maybe. If it's a maybe, you probably did not, or maybe like in passing. But that's a common phrase, right? Our past equals our future, like meaning like what we did before determines the direction of where we're gonna go. But I'm here to say that your past does not equal your future. Your past does not equal your future. What does that mean? Because what we did before does not get you to where you want to go tomorrow. Let me say that again. What you did in the past will not get you to where you want to go tomorrow or anywhere in the future. What you do need to understand is what you did in the past shapes you to exactly where you're at today. Okay, so I'll repeat that one more time. What you did in the past got you exactly where you are today. And so your past does not equal your future. Why is that so important? Because we often get stuck in success that we had in the past. Meaning, I worked on this and I practiced this way. I practiced this many days. I did these drills. I did this and it got me to where I'm at today. If I continue doing the same thing, it's going to give me continued success, which is not true. The truth is, could it give you continued success? It could. But we also have to understand that we outgrow certain skill sets. Meaning, if you continue to do the same thing that you did as a kindergartner and the same kind of curriculum as a kindergartner, you would not be where you're at today. You outgrow the skills you learn at kindergarten by the time you go to first grade, which means you then have to learn the first grade stuff. Do you keep some of the stuff that you learned in kindergarten that stretches you into first grade? Yes, you do. Do you keep everything? No, you don't. Right? You may keep some practice or like studying behavior, some reading things that carry over into the first grade, right? But eventually by the time you get to the second grade, some of those things phase out, right? So as we start to look at just our education in general, like when you guys are going through school, are there concepts and things that carried over from elementary school to where you guys are today? Of course. Are there things that are no longer relevant excuse me, no longer relevant today that are going to serve you in the future? Yeah. And so with golf, it's no different, right? Things that helped us get to where you are today sometimes don't serve us and don't help us get to where we want to get to. And doing audits on where you're at, doing audits of like, how am I spending my time? What am I doing with my time? You know, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to accomplish? What is my goals like now? Like, do I have the same goal, you know, and or the same intention of like how I want to spend my time today that I did a year ago? So we often outgrow our skills, and it needs to be on purpose that we start looking at like, what am I doing and what's going to serve me into the future. And so when when you start to think about what's necessary for my growth, right? It's what you're doing now determines where you're going to go tomorrow. So if we're doing the same stuff that we did previously, which gets us to today, and we're doing the same thing today, it's going to give us the same results that got us here today. So let me rephrase that in a little bit clearer way. You have to alter your behaviors in the present in order to go to somewhere different in the future. There are some things that you won't outgrow, and will carry over, but it has to be intentional in what you're keeping. For example, Jordan Spieth was one of the best golfers in the world several years ago. Today, he is not. He's still a really good golfer, but he is not performing as well as he did 5 years ago. But 5 years ago, it looked like he was going to change the game. Could he still change the game? Of course he could. But is he doing it now? He's struggling right now. Right, last couple of years he's been struggling a lot. And in his terms, struggling means like still playing pretty well for PGA standard, but he was winning major championships and in contention of winning major championships and tournaments constantly 5 years ago, 4 years ago. And so what he did back then doesn't shape him into what he's going to be tomorrow. He's got to start altering the things that he's doing to change the direction where he wants to go tomorrow. Right? If he continues to stay on the same path and do the same, and like he's one of the best players in the world, so he's going to be making changes. If he continued to do the things that like, oh man, I'm just going to do what I was doing 5 years ago and get the same result. Impossible, because he's in a different place. Right? He can't do the things because he definitely outgrew some of the skills. Does he need to relearn some of the skills? Possibly. Right? I don't know the details of the situation, but 100%, he cannot be doing the same things that he was doing 5 years ago and hope to go somewhere further in the future. He needs to create something new for him today so he ends up in a different place tomorrow. Right? Let me share you a story. Right? I have you may have heard it, some of you, but let me share you a story about a 10-year-old named Luke. Right? I'm gonna give you the short version of this one, but Luke started playing 10 years old, never played golf in his life. Well, not never. He took a golf camp 1 year ago, and his extent to golf was a 5-day golf camp 1 year ago when he was 9. And so he comes in and played a little bit of baseball, but he loves skateboarding, 10 years old. And so his past has 0 experience. So if we know that our past does not equal your future. So that means if he comes in and you say you got 0 experience, so you're not going to be able to get really, really big results early on because you haven't even been playing for long enough. So he comes out on the first day, and what he does, we measure how far he hits it, because his one big thing out of the whole camp that he remembered 1 year ago, all he remembered that was like fun was when he got on the golf course and got to hit he didn't even know it was called the driver, but he said, like, got to hit that far one off the tee. So he loved to tee off and hit it far, right? So he just wanted to hit it far. So it's like, perfect. Yeah, let's get out here and see how far you hit it. So he came out on day one, didn't know how to hold the club, and barely could hit it. And we measured after he warmed up for about 20 to 25 shots. We measured like how far are you going to hit it. So he came in and hitting it 29 yards in the air was his average over 5 shots. And 37 yards was his total distance with his driver. And so what does this tell you? Like, his past created the results that he had today. What he did before, which was nothing, no, not nothing. He did 5 days of golf 1 year ago. That was his past. Gave him the results that he had today. What he does today creates the future that you want. And so this is going back into wind and play, right? And it's going to lead us into like the next component, right? But how does he win and play, right? He hits it 29 yards, 37 yards total. And I just ask him, like, what pole would you love to hit it to? Just out of curiosity, or just from answering, he said, I want to hit it to the orange one because he likes the color orange. Isn't that amazing? He doesn't know anything about golf. And he said, I want to hit it to the orange one because he just likes orange. 10 years old, hit it 29 yards. Orange pole is 185 yards away. But he doesn't challenge anything. He really wants to get there. So I said, okay, if you really want to get there, this is what it's going to take, right? You got to be swinging it like this. You got to be hitting it like this on the club face. And I gave him like the wind and play method that I just showed you. But to show you that your past doesn't equal your future and how fast can you get there? You can get there as fast as you want. We set 12-week goals. We set 8-week and 4-week benchmarks. He wanted to go 185 in 12 weeks. Cool. Don't know if you can get there, but I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you how to get there. And I asked him at 8 weeks, how far do you think you need to be to give yourself a chance in the last month to get to 185? And he's like, well, maybe 150. Perfect. So in 8 weeks, we got to get 150. I said, for you to get to 150 in 8 weeks, what do you think you need to do in 4 weeks? 1 month away. And he's like, maybe 100 yards. And I said, okay, 100 sounds good. But I said, if you're getting, and so this is where I helped him, right? Get clear. Like, if you go from 150 to 180 in 4 weeks, do you think it's a bit of a stretch to say you're going to go from 100 to 150 in the same amount of time? And so yeah. So maybe I need to get at 120. That would give me a better chance. And all he did was the math. 120 to 150 was 30 yards. 150 to 185, a little bit more than 30 yards. Fantastic. Does he know he can do it? Yeah, of course he knows he can do it, right? He just came up with his plan. So somebody looking from the outside, do they think he can do it? No, because their past. If I told any of you guys, can somebody who picked up the club for the first time hit it 185 yards in 12 weeks and they're 10 years old, what would you say? Yes, no?
I would say it's possible, but it would be very soul-crushing for me.
Awesome, right? So some of you would say yes, some of you would say no, right? And those of you who would say no, maybe because we would look at, he never played, we would look at his past, never played golf before. So that means that's way too far. That's an advanced yardage to go, and he's 10 years old. If I said he's the world number 1 10-year-old golfer, and he's already hitting it 170 yards, do you think he'll get it 180? Your answer would probably be yes, because you would look at his past, world number 1 10-year-old, already hitting it this far. Yes, he can get it there. So it's wind and play, but your past does not equal your future. Long story short, told him what it takes, told him what he needs to do, which required swinging the golf club every single day. Is that 4 hours? No, it's for what a 10-year-old can handle. It's swinging the club for 10 to 15 minutes every single day. And he hit his 4-week benchmark of 120 in 3 weeks. He hit it 130 yards in 3 weeks. Then on week 4, something clicked. He started swinging it faster and hit it 157 yards on week 4. So in 4 weeks, he went from 29 or 37 yards to 157 yards. Why? Is it because of the technique? No, the technique I showed him is how to get into a posture and how to stand up. So think about how strong of a mindset and how strong a belief you would have to know that you could do it and get there. He's at 4 weeks right now and hit it 160 yards. Does he have a chance in the next 8 weeks to get a 185? I don't know, right? I'm going to encourage him, yes. But in his head, do you think he can get there? Yeah, all that matters is what he's thinking, right? He's already won the game because he saw that he hit 157 yards in 4 weeks, and he's got to only go to 185. And knowing that he could do it that fast. The other part, right? He played golf for the first time, and part of his practice at home was putting it to a coin and making the ball stop on a coin 20 times or 20 putts on the carpet. No form at all. Never did one putting lesson with him, but I said to help you with the driving, you got to do some putting because that's going to help you with some control. So all he did was buy into that. He put to a coin 10 times to stop at 8 feet away and 10 times to stop at 15 feet away. Didn't know what that was doing, but he knew it was part of helping him. The reason why I told him to putt to a coin and stop on it, because that was the simplest thing that he would understand without teaching him anything and getting him confused from when we go back to one of his top 3 goals is hitting it 185, right? So we don't want to make it complex. So stop it on a coin every single day. Do you do it every day? No, just hit 10 putts at 8 feet, 10 putts at 15 feet. Played golf for the first time last week with his dad. And I don't know what yardages they played from, but wherever he played from, he said he made 2 pars, which might have been close. And he made a putt from 25 feet and 2-putted 4 times. Never putt before in his life. And all he did was putt to a coin. So what does that tell you? He knew he could stop it on a coin. Therefore, when he got within 15 feet, he knew he could get it in or get it really close to the hole. And because he was aiming at a coin, he just figured it out, right? Did he need a putting lesson to do that? No, he just needed to do something every single day. So my point is, a lot of times we make things so complex that we need this perfect form. We need, the specific way to swing this thing. Yes, does that matter? Yes. But what overpowers all of that is the belief you bring into each practice that it's going to work, right? It's the intention that you have in that I have a specific objective that I'm going to complete every single day, every single week. And if I don't get there, at least I know, why did I not get there? What did I not complete? So it gives you direction the next day, right? Does he have, somebody like Luke, does he have, he's swinging it for 15 minutes, right? Well, what does that do? That creates repetition. In a matter of about a month, even he came to, I think he was doing range 1 to 2 times a week. So he would actually hit 100 to 200 balls a week at the range and swing for 15 minutes at home doing these swing things. And he's swinging at a rubber tee and a mat. Could that be boring for some of you? It could be extremely boring if you're swinging at a rubber tee, but he's doing it every single day because why? It was how bad he wanted to get 185 because he liked the color orange. I'm not saying get sucked into the color, but I'm saying you got to get pulled into something that's more powerful than just, I want to play good golf. You have to have a reason why, right? His reason is, I like the color orange, and I would love to feel what it feels like to hit it extremely far. He doesn't even know the perspective of what 185 yards is for an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old who never played the game before, right? And so in the matter of just swinging it for 10 to 15 minutes a day, he's swinging at a tee and he's swinging it thousands of times. If you think 15 minutes a day and you're swinging it at a rubber tee, you're creating consistency on a daily basis, which add up to a few thousand golf swings. Did he need to hit a ball? No, but do you think we learn a ton just by swinging something 1,000 times or more? Yes. Because if you start missing the tee, then your body starts to adjust and you start to do things that you need to do to hit that tee. And so if you can hit the tee, you can definitely hit a driver, right? So he starts to shape his golf swing with very, very little technical advice and just teaching himself how to do it. But what's the key there? It's not so much the technique, it's the commitment to, I'm just going to hit the tee. So your past does not equal your future, which is going to lead us into my final part right now, is commitment alters everything. How do you get somebody like Luke to do things that that may seem boring and not fun at times? It's the commitment that you have, right? What commitment level do you have that will make you do the things that's required, not necessarily that you want to do? How often do you do the things that I just want to do versus the things that are required? You know, we all know that to play the best golf in the world, you need to be measuring your score every single time. So how many of you are measuring your score every single time? We also know the best golfers in the world have tracked their stats. Now they have automated stat tracking programs where I wouldn't say it's fast, but it makes it more seamless than calculating your own. Has even like algorithms that tells you what to work on next, right? What has the biggest value. They have things that create that for you. And we know that every high level golfer uses some kind of program like that because they can't do it themselves, right? Because it's too difficult, which means what commitment level are you at to get you to do the things that's required versus doing the things that you choose to do? Because if you do the things that you choose to do, you'll get some of the results, but it'll be very, very slow. If you do the things that are required, then you get all of it, right? And so it comes down to, why wouldn't I do the things that I know I'm supposed to do, but I push it off to another time? Why wouldn't I do the things that I told myself I'm going to do, but something got in the way, right? It is our commitment to it's our commitment to getting the exact results that we want, right? And so start to think, like, what would you have to believe to create a commitment level that gets you just to do everything that you tell yourself to do, right? I can't be the one telling you this is what you have to believe, but everybody has their own belief, their own story that you need to believe to get you to do the things that you want, right? If you are good, if you are, how can I rephrase this? Kind of going back on your past doesn't equal your future kind of thing, right? What you get, where you are today, is a direct proportion to your commitment level, which means if you are a straight A student and you get all A's, your commitment to getting straight A's is extremely high. If you are a B student, your commitment to getting B's is extremely high. If you are failing out of school, your commitment to education is not very high at all, right? If you spend a lot of time and you're really close to your family and you do a lot of family stuff, your commitment to family values is extremely high. It's a 10 out of 10, right? Where you are today is a direct reflection of your commitment level in that area of your life. And so when we look at golf is no different. Where you are today is a direct reflection to your commitment level of where you want to be. we all want to be extremely good golfers. We all want to, not all, but not a lot of us want to play in college, but we all want to be really good golfers. We want to score low. We want to hit it further. We want to hit it straighter. But when we look into, am I there? Am I getting there faster? Or have I been here for a little while? Right? Looking at that, that's a direct reflection of our commitment, of where we're at. Right? If we tell ourselves, I want to shoot really low scores. I want to shoot, if I'm shooting in the mid 40s, 45, and I want to shoot in the 30s, right? I want to shoot even par. That's a 9-shot swing. And we know to go 9 shots, you have to be playing consistent rounds of golf, right? If I told you that I want to drop 9 shots, go from 45 to 36, but I only want to play golf once a month, would I get there? I would not get there. Or if I got there, it would be extremely slow, right? But if we knew and we saw, like, what do people who shoot 36, how often do they play golf? Then it's going to be 2 to 3 times a week sometimes. So what is the required amount of rounds of golf if you want to get to even par, to just play at that standard? Means you got to play 2 to 3 rounds of golf a week to get there in a timely fashion, right? The people that are shooting even par now, they have dreams of shooting under par. If they're living off of the past and saying, I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing, play the same amount of golf, practice the same, not change the strategy and just work on the skills, they're never going to get below even par. But if they start to change the strategy, learn to hit it better, start to play more golf, start to change around how they structure the time, add more time, you start doing stuff that are different, that's what gets you start altering the things that you're doing, right? So you'll see the people that hit even par and be scratch golfers, and they never move from there and they're wondering, no, I start hitting it better, but why am I not shooting any lower? It's because they are not doing anything different than what got them there, right? They're using past success to determine where they're going to be in the future. What gets you to know, so now that you know, if you want to be a scratch golfer, for example, and you got to be playing at least twice a week consistently, not like I'm going to go play twice a week for a month and see where I go. It's like, I'm going to play twice a week for the rest of my life. That is like commitment, right? Think of commitment like high commitment, 10 out of 10. How you can determine where is your commitment level? All you got to do is answer the question. When you tell yourself, I'm going to go practice, how are you answering that question? Or how long am I going to do it for? If you're answering the question of, can I do this for the next day? Can I do this for this week? 3 times. Can I do this for the next month? Or if you're ever asking, like, how long do I have to do this for? Then that tells us we may be committed, but we're not committed at the highest level. If you ask the person that is 100% committed, how long do you need to do this for? They're going to tell you as long as it takes. They're also going to tell you, how long do you have to train for? They're going to be like, what do you mean, how long? There's no end. So you have to start thinking, if you want to be playing at the very highest level of golf, you have to come in with the mentality that there is just no end, right? How long do I hit balls? There's no end to how often I hit balls, which means everybody is at different levels, right? So we're not saying you're going to train like tour players, but what that means is the consistency. There is just no end to the consistency. If you want to play at a golfer that shoots, let's say, in the 80s, then there is no end to the amount of time, meaning the consistency that you're going to go hit balls once a week and go play around. once every week and a half. And that is consistent. Hit balls every week, play every other week, gets you into the 80s. But then you're doing that like there's no end to that. Like the rest of your life, hitting one bucket of balls, playing every other week. And that is just a lifestyle, right? That's commitment. It's not, I'm going to do this until I get there. No, I'm going to do this until I get there. And then what else do I want? If I want to stay here, one bucket of balls every other week, right? If you want to get, if you're looking at, okay, how do I get to a scratch player and shoot even par from championship tees? Okay, so now we're looking at high level high school and college players that are shooting at long courses. They're playing 2 to 3 rounds a week, depending, at least 2 rounds a week to get at a very high level. And they're hitting balls and practicing consistently 5 days a week. And it never ends. It's 5 days a week. Do they have days that are 7? Yeah, during certain periods of time, they might hit 7. During recovery times, they're off, right? But it's like 5 days a week practicing. For how long? Practice for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is that they're at. It just never ends, right? It's not, can I do it for a month? It's like, can I do it and never stop? And so our commitment keeps us in that consistency over and over and over, because practicing like a scratch player for 1 week or 1 month or 6 months does not get you there and doesn't sustain you there. Doing the behavior and habits and thinking and mindset of a scratch player and doing it as a way of living is what gets you there, because eventually you get there and you get there faster than anybody else. And so, maybe you guys aren't, I'm not telling you guys to think that I want to shoot even par, but you got to be thinking like, where do you want to be? That's where, think about our clarity session before and think like, be clear, where do you want your golf game to be? Because if you can define, I want to be in a starting varsity team in high school. Yeah, right. Depending on boys or girls, right? That's going to be somewhere in the under 40 gets you on most varsity teams, right? Depending. And so you're shooting anywhere from 4 over and less for 9 holes. Does that take a high commitment level? Higher than somebody that shoots in the 50s, but much less than somebody that wants to play Division I college and get a scholarship and play at some of the best universities in the country or play on tour. Definitely a lot less. But what it requires is that commitment to be consistent, right? And if you're not consistent every single day, and when I say every single day, it doesn't literally mean every single day, right? We go on vacations, but it's part of your lifestyle. It's like you're part of your being. It's not like, oh man, I got to go practice this. No, it's like, I got to go practice today. Yeah. It's not like, oh, practice again, right? Again, language and how we show up. If you're in that mood, like, oh, I know so many players that are like, oh man, I got to go practice. Guess what the result is? They practice a lot and don't get anywhere. Guess what their practice looks like? A lot of frustration. Guess what their tournaments look like? A lot of stories and excuses about, oh, you know what? I learned this lesson though, but they don't apply the lesson, right? When you start approaching, like, what you'll start to notice, you start to see people and they like, when you're approaching just how you train and practice with like, man, I gotta go again. And you're just resenting yourself to want to put that work in. That's not commitment, right? That's force. And if you're in that space, then all of a sudden you're putting lots of time in and you're not moving very fast. And when you start playing, competing, and getting the results, then you become resentful of your score, right? And then you hear stories and you hear players start talking about, they don't even want to say what they shoot, right? But they'll tell you all the lessons that they've learned. But they won't tell you, I scored this, and this is what happened. This is why it was shot what I did. This is what I was well. This is what didn't go so good. This is what I'm going to work on. But they tell you these high level things like, oh man, I learned about like confidence and I learned about this. And then it's all of these cool little things that you would read from a book, but they go into the next training session the same way, resentful and oh my gosh, I gotta go practice again. Oh, it's hot today. Oh my gosh. and I'm tired, and you know, going to the next tournament and the same result happens, and they can't even tell you how their day went, right? But they're practicing all the time. Does that mean they're bad players? No, they're still really good players, but are they playing at the best of their capability? No, they're not, right? So when you go and practice, it's never about forcing yourself to do it. It's finding like, what do you have to believe to be committed? Because that's how commitment alters everything. It means that what do you have to do and what do you have to believe so it doesn't feel like work? What is pulling you so much to want to practice, to be okay with it being 100 degrees outside? But then you be realistic. It's like, man, 100 degrees outside, I'm still going. I still can have a good time, but then it's going to be 1 hour instead of 2 hours. Or I'm going to take more breaks because I got to work on my health, right? Talking about commitment, there is a player. Seiko shared it with me, and she shared it with me over COVID, and she just brought it up. But her name is Rose Zhang. Not sure if you ever heard of her, but her name is Rose Zhang. During COVID, and where everything was shut down, she showed herself. She posted something on Instagram, that she had a small place, like apartment that she was living in. She's young, so just so you know, she's 17 years old, so she was still in high school. But everything was closed at that time, and she lives somewhere down in Southern California. I'm not exactly sure, but between Orange County and LA. And she's had a big bucket of bottle caps that she's hitting in her backyard because she could hit bottle caps and they'd fly a certain way and she knew what she was looking at, but it wouldn't fly out of her yard. But hundreds of them that she'd be hitting every single day, 17 years old. And so, how's that for commitment? Hitting bottle caps when everything is closed. Can't hit a real golf ball. Probably could go somewhere, but what would be consistent and that she could do every day and swing the golf club? Bottle caps. She just played in a tournament about a month ago, less than a month ago, maybe month or just less ago. The biggest women's amateur tournament in the world. Not junior tournament, amateur. So you are playing with the best amateurs, college players, and women in the world. And she went out and won that event. 17 years old. She's good as a junior. So don't get me wrong. She's not like some no-name person. She's good as a junior golfer. But she went in playing some really high favored, like top women in the world, ranked women in the world for amateurs. And then she beat them in the finals. She played, I think, the number 8 ranked woman in the world. She was USC's number 1 golfer. And she's won college events, and she's probably going to be in the LPGA in the next few years if she continues on the path that she's doing. I think she's won a couple professional events as an amateur this past summer, but she played like the 8th ranked woman in the world for amateurs, and this girl beat her. Was it because, and she was a huge underdog, was it because she hit bottle caps? No, it was not because she hit bottle caps. It was because her commitment to wanting to hit bottle caps when nothing else was available and what she could do consistently. That is what alters everything. It's not about hitting bottle caps. It's not about hitting rubber tees. It's about knowing that I'm committed to doing this because I do want to be the best player in the world. It's about wanting to do something because you know it's going to give you the result that you want, because you know it's going to take you to where you want to get to. It's not about like, I'm going to just go and hit some bottle caps and spend some time because if I hit bottle caps, it makes me great. No, it has nothing to do with hitting bottle caps. It has nothing to do with hitting the rubber tee. It has everything to do with your belief and your commitment that if you do and put in the work and you believe it's going to work and it's actually something that has something behind it, yeah, you're gonna get there. It's the willingness to go hit the bottle caps when everybody else wants to sit down and not play because everything shut down and say ranges are closed, golf courses are closed, too hot outside. It's the willingness and commitment to do that. Right? Again, when you look at commitment, is that for everybody? No, that's not for everybody. But that is for the person that is looking to be the best golfer in the world, right? You may not want to be the best golfer in the world, so you have to look at who do you want to be, and that's the commitment that you need, right? So that's kind of what I challenge you guys to do. It's to not go and mimic Rosang and go hit bottle caps and say I want to be the best in the world. If that's not who you want to be, don't do that, right? But you got to know, like, I want to be this kind of golfer, and be committed to that golfer and know what it takes, right? And you may get some interest later and say, maybe I want to get a little bit more. I want to do a little bit more, right? And then you live into that. And so commitment alters everything. And so I know, recap kind of what we're talking about is we start off language determines your behavior. How you speak alters what you do, right? So just your self-talk, how you speak to others, right? Start monitoring your language all the time. How you speak in your head, what you verbally say, how you speak to your classmates, your parents, everybody, right? It's not just, I want to do this in golf. It's like you alter your language like everywhere. Language is language, right? Know your top 3 for golf. Know your top 3, see it every single day, and that way you know if you're getting closer or you're not. Continue to monitor your top 3. Could your top 3 change? Yes, of course. If you don't see it every day, you won't know if they need to be changed. You want to win, then play. What do you need to do to win, then play? You need to know what's required, right? The skills, the tools, the resources, the time, the commitments, all of that stuff. You need to know to prioritize it. And more than anything, you need to win in your mindset. You have to see yourself knowing that it's going to happen no matter what, because that creates your commitment level, right? Because your commitment alters everything. How you show up and how you get pulled and stuck into doing the actions makes your time worthwhile, right? And finally, your past does not equal your future. Just because you're learning the game today does not mean you're going to go slow and play like a beginner, right? Just because you got massive success earlier doesn't mean we're going to continue on that massive success. Your past equals where you are today. What you do today is what takes you to where you're going to go tomorrow. And so I want to leave you with those. All right. So before we go off, just one last part here where I want just what did you get in that last segment from just a short little clip from everybody. So I'll start with Blake here.
Okay. On the last segment about like
Commitment. So we kind of commitment alters everything with past does not equal the future.
Oh, both of those. Okay.
So what you heard in that last segment there?
I heard that kind of, I don't know, it was pretty big. So, and kind of both topics were big. So, the past doesn't equal your future. I kind of knew that, but at the same time, I've heard the past does equal your future so much that I kind of started thinking that more than the other. But forgot what I was gonna say. On the commitment one though, I think it's I haven't written anything down, so I'm kind of going off the top of my head. But I think the commitment thing is useful. It can apply to anything and not necessarily golf. That's what I got from it, because like you said, not everyone wants to be the best golfer in the world. But I think it can apply to a lot of things, and it can improve whatever you're trying to do pretty quickly, because if you're not committed and you just kind of go into things half-assed, you're not going to come out very well.
Yeah, that's fantastic, right? And so, so not everybody, like you said, not everybody wants to be the best golfer in the world, but everybody wants to be the best golfer that they can be, right? And understanding who is that golfer is going to get you to commit, right? So even your version of all-in commitment is going to be different than my version. It's going to be different than Tiger's version. It's going to be different from anybody's version, because who you want to be is who you want to be. And you knowing who you want to be allows you to go all in on that, which then determines what you have to do. And again, just like anything else, you apply that commitment to all the like every aspect in your life if you want to accomplish things and really be successful. Thanks for sharing. That was awesome. Thanks for sharing that insight.
Yeah.
All right, we have Miss Adriana.
Okay. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. The commitment one is definitely something that I feel like applies to me and I need to work on, because sometimes I feel like commitment is like very often on, especially for golf for me. Sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm totally gonna do this, and then other times, like I said earlier, I just kind of like put it off from other things. And then the past doesn't equal your future. I've never actually heard before, so that was new to me. And I think that's really good. Like, I don't think you should plan out your whole future based on what happened in your past, and like you need to be open to like new things, and that things aren't always going to be the same as your past.
Oh, that's awesome. How would you use that in either of those, or like just one takeaway? How would you use that going forward for you?
On which one?
Either one.
Um, um, I don't know. I guess the past doesn't determine your future. We've kind of been working on it, I feel like, with my distances, and I've just been sticking with my distances that I've been hitting for a really long time. And so I just need to work on pushing myself to improve.
Yes, that is. So what Adriana's talking about, and I'll kind of frame it in like a more high level thing, not necessarily with distances, but where past doesn't equal your future means in the past, like a past thought would mean uncomfort doesn't work. If we continue to say that uncomfort makes me worse, uncomfort isn't good, uncomfort is this, because we have this conditioning, that this belief that we had typically said so many times in the past, that one, that belief really doesn't serve us, but also who says being uncomfortable means you can't do anything, right? So just because we said it so much times before doesn't, it makes it reality. But knowing that I don't have to say and fool myself that it's comfortable, but just accept the fact today that uncomfort gets me to where I need to be. And again, it's changing perspective and looking at it, right? Sometimes we're trying to fool ourselves and saying like, well, I'm just gonna say it feels good. It's gonna feel good. No, it doesn't feel good. But you change the definition of uncomfort, and if you just change the lens, right? There's tons like of areas in my life that like, man, it's uncomfortable to do this, but you do it anyways, right? And you find out, oh, it wasn't that bad. And the moment you understand, oh man, it's not that bad, but yet in that moment, so uncomfortable and fearful, and we're self-judging ourselves on like what the result's going to be and what it looks like, what it feels like, that we just don't move and we don't go forward and we don't do anything. And it's easier to just say, yeah, it doesn't work, it's uncomfortable, and that's why I hit it bad. No, the truth is it's just uncomfortable, and then you create your new definition going forward. So awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and we're gonna wrap it up with you. Alexa, are you there?
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Wait. I the part. Wait, which part? Because there's a lot.
It's the last.
The one about that kid.
So commitment alters everything, and past does not equal your future.
Okay. So have to like, I guess basically what I said the first time, like make time for what you want to do, know what you want to do,
Uh-huh.
so you can get better at it. You know, like I don't know, like basically what I said the last time, but I don't know. Yeah.
How would you then turn that into something that you can apply for yourself?
What does that mean?
So how do you turn like what you're trying to say into like something that you can put into practice and not just have it as a understanding and concept?
I don't know. Wait, I don't know. I'm confused.
So part is going to be think about out of that last segment,
Okay.
what your main takeaway was, and the takeaway. How would you be able to frame that in a way for you to benefit from that?
Okay, so like,
What could you do with something that you just learned tonight and actually make an adjustment and change the direction of where you're going to be?
oh, okay, so I guess motivation, like if you really want to be good at something and really want and have a big goal, or like have a goal that you want to do, like listen to what you said, practice, even though it can be boring sometimes.
Okay, cool. And then, so for you, like, what might that be for yourself?
Perfecting the stuff that isn't like my strongest in golf.
Okay, so if you went off of something that was boring,
Okay.
that kind of wouldn't interest you, how would you approach that? Something that's boring, so you make sure you still commit and do it.
Like make a scheduled time to do it and like just do it, you know, because it's not gonna be like an hour or two long. It's gonna be quick. So I don't know. I guess just the motivation to get up and find time throughout the days that I'm free.
Okay, good, good. So thanks for sharing on that. And for back out. So thank you for sharing. Awesome. And so think about, we never want to force things and just force it through, because that's not sustainable, right? We may have to force sometimes to get the thing moving, but start to, like, you have to get pulled, right? So think about the pull. If you feel like you're forcing your way to like have to do something, anytime it's forced, it's not long term. It's like short term. Sometimes we need the force though. Right. So sometimes we need to get pushed in the right direction, but just know if you're pushing, you're not able to sustain that consistency and commitment for long term. So I challenge you guys all to like think about what is it that, and again, I love using the word like, what is it that you have to believe? Like, what story do you have to believe? What future do you need to see? What reason do you need to constantly remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing? Because all of you, if you're here, and like, I'll go back to like grades and academics. If you guys all have, well, I don't know about everybody, but anybody want to flunk out of high school? No? So everybody has a strong commitment to graduate high school. Is there any chance that you guys will flunk out of high school? Blake, you look a little hesitant there. I'm gonna have to challenge you to go and discover.
There's not really a chance, but I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the next few years, but I am committed to graduating. So I don't know if that means there's no chance of me flunking out, but I don't know how my classes are. Yeah, never mind. I take it all back. Yeah, there's no chance.
Yeah, doesn't matter how hard the class is. Will you flunk out?
No,
Oh,
I
there's
wouldn't,
no way, dude.
because I'm committed or something.
Doesn't matter how much you don't like the teacher. You're gonna let the teacher make you flunk? No. So my point is, even looking at something like school and you're gonna graduate, we don't think about it because we take it for granted. We're going to school and we'll graduate each grade and we're gonna eventually graduate. Right? There's a reason that gets you to move and not get an F. Would it be easy for you to just for anybody to just sit down and not do anything and flunk out? Yeah. Are there people that do that? Yes. There are people that flunk out of school, right? That's the reality. It's hard to flunk out of school because it's just not moving. But if there's no chance you're gonna like ever not graduate, like there's a reason why you guys will all graduate. And everybody's going to be a little bit different, right? Nobody's going on the same reason. Some of you is like, man, for me to get out of here, to get to this Ivy League school, I got to do this, right? That's pulling you through. Some of you is like, man, my parents, if I ever flunk out, and some kind of like scarcity thing right there, like you're frightened. Like, I'm not saying you guys are, but I'm just saying like, man, if I flunk out, man, I better be moving out kind of thing. And I don't want to be moving out and getting yelled at, whatever it is, right? And that is like pulling you out to do the things that you need to do. So the reason why none of you will ever flunk out of school, no matter how hard the situation is, it's not a push. It's something that is pulling you. It's something that, is it hard sometimes when you got to go do homework and study for papers and exams and midterms? Yeah, it's hard. Sometimes that's some of the push that we have. But are you going to do it anyways? Yeah, you're going to do it anyways. So when you look at golf and anything else, we all want the best for what we have and what we can get. You need to push sometimes to get yourself out of where you're at, but the only way it's sustainable is to be pulled. And you got to connect yourself to that reason of what is going to pull me. So that commitment level that I have, nothing stands in the way between that commitment level. All right. So thank you guys all for sharing. And again, I love what you guys all shared. And beyond just like concepts and principles, I'm not here to motivate you all and tell you how to live your life. But what I'm here to do is I want to share some principles with you guys, and I want to show you guys some perspectives so you guys can see everybody's so unique, right? Everybody has their own different lives and how their interests are. I want to show you different angles and perspectives of looking at the things in a different way so you can start having some choices to make as opposed to going with the default and this is what happens. The moment you start seeing things in a different lens, through your eyes, through mine, through other people and different angles, and start like looking at it differently, you're going to start you're going to just start approaching things differently. All right, so that is all for this evening. Blake, did you have a question?
Yeah. Can you send me the recording of this, please?
Yes, I can.
If you can, that'd be nice.
I will.
Thank you.
And so start to take just one key. What's the biggest takeaway that I could have got tonight, and how can I put it into practice today? All right, don't take all of it, just take one and make that a habit, make that a shift. Take one principle and apply it, not just in your golf, apply it to school, apply it to social life, apply it to your family, apply it to everything, because that's the only way change takes place. You can't just put on the hat that says, I'm going to use it for golf. No, you got to do it everywhere, right? And so take one big takeaway and put it in today, right? I'll send you guys the recording. And if you guys want to watch this again, every time you listen to, like I listen to recordings and trainings, I hear the same trainings all the time, right? But depending on the place that I'm at in the current, like present time, I hear different things, right? So there's a few events that I've been to. It's like almost identical, but my takeaways are what I'm searching for. So wherever you are today, whether you know or you don't, you're searching for certain answers that you don't quite have. And those are what you're going to pull. If you were to listen to this conversation in 6 months, you're going to hear slightly different things that you'll pull out, right? So that's just kind of like where Adriana was saying, you just kind of be open, right? Because we're always searching for something. And if we're searching for something, we're going to find it, right? So take one thing and apply it. This is not just knowledge. This is application. So start applying these principles, at least one of them, and then you're going to start moving. Consistency. All right, everybody. Thank you guys again. And I will see
Thank you.
you all soon.